Imagine a diet pill so effective, it just melts fat away. A true miracle pill. In the 1980s, a Texas physician named Dr. Nicholas Bakinski was prescribing this exact miracle. He called it Mitcal, and it worked almost terrifyingly well. His 14,000 patients were, for a time, losing weight like crazy. But then, in 1984, one of those patients died from an overdose. Their body wasn't just overheating. It was, in the words of investigators, literally cooking to death. Because Mitcal wasn't a miracle. It was a banned industrial poison, a poison whose original, main use was for making artillery shells explode. And that deadly pill was just the gateway to a sprawling $15 million criminal empire. First, let's talk about the man himself, Dr. Nicholas Bakinski. And you had to call him doctor. The man had the credentials, a PhD and an MD. He was a fully licensed physician in Texas. In the early 1980s, his Houston clinic was booming. This was the peak of the aerobics and diet craze. People were desperate for a way to get thin fast. And Dr. Bakinski was a master salesman. He had 14,000 patients who believed he had found the answer. He didn't just sell them pills. He sold them a futuristic-sounding process. He called it intracellular hyperthermia therapy. It sounded high-tech. It sounded legitimate. His patients would come in, take the pill, and feel it working almost immediately. They would feel warm. Then, they would start to sweat. A lot. Many reported a racing heart and a constant flushed feeling. Dr. Bakinski would reassure them that wasn't a side effect. That, he explained, was the mechanism. That was the hyperthermia. That was the fat just melting away. But what these 14,000 patients didn't know was that this mechanism wasn't a miracle. It was a biological emergency. So, what exactly was in this Mitcal pill? The active ingredient was a chemical called 2,4-dinitrophenol, or DNP for short. If you've never heard of it, there's a good reason. It's not a drug. It's an industrial chemical. It's used as a pesticide, a chemical for making dyes, and, as we mentioned, a component in munitions. You know, for exploding things. So how does an explosive chemical make you lose weight? Well, in the most terrifying way possible. To put it simply, your body runs on tiny engines called mitochondria. They take fuel, like fat and sugar, and turn it into energy. DNP is like pouring sugar in the gas tank. It uncouples those engines. They are forced to burn through all of your fuel non-stop, at full throttle. But none of that fuel becomes energy. It all gets wasted as pure raw heat. You're literally cooking yourself from the inside out. The body's furnace is stuck on and you can't turn it off. And the FDA knew all about this. See, DNP was already a diet fad way back in the 1930s, until it was banned in 1938. Why? Because it was killing people, and for the lucky ones, it was just making them go blind. It had a nasty habit of causing cataracts very quickly. So, of course, this was the exact chemical Dr. Bakinski chose for his clinic. He wasn't getting it from some special pharmacy. He was just buying the raw, industrial-grade chemical from a supplier and putting it into capsules right there in his office. It was a brilliant business model, if you ignore the whole poisoning people part. For a few years, Bakinski's miracle business was a runaway success, until 1984, when one of his patients died from a Mitcal overdose. Suddenly, the FDA and the Texas Attorney General, who had been getting complaints, had a body. They launched a full-scale investigation. They raided the clinic and found something so much bigger than medical malpractice. This wasn't just a doctor being reckless. This was a massive criminal conspiracy. See, the DNP pills weren't actually the main business. They were just the hook. They were the loss leader to get those 14,000 people in the door. The real money was in the fraud. Dr. Bakinski was running one of the largest insurance scams in the state. He billed insurance companies for over $15 million. The intracellular hyperthermia therapy was the perfect cover. Because the DNP made patients feel hot and sweaty with a racing heart, it gave Bakinski The perfect excuse to order a full workup on every single patient, every single visit. Blood tests, lung function tests, EKGs, things a patient would never need for a simple diet program. Except, most of the time, he wasn't even performing the tests. He was just billing for them. The DNP pills were the perfect con. They created real physical symptoms he could point to, which justified the millions in fake tests he billed to insurance. It was genius, and it was pure evil. With a patient dead and $15 million in fraud uncovered, this should be an open and shut case, right? Well, in 1986, Dr. Bakinski was convicted of drug law violations. The punishment for running this massive, deadly scam? A fine, and he was prohibited from dispensing DNP. Just a stern, don't do that again. So, of course, what do you think he did? He kept right on going. He just didn't stop. This guy was incredible. The authorities, realizing this doctor didn't care, had to come back. This time, they brought the big guns. In 1989, they hit him with a massive 87-count federal indictment. This wasn't about the pills anymore. This was for racketeering, RICO, and TX fraud. This time, it stuck. Bakinski pled guilty. He was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. He lost his medical license. The miracle doctor's career was over. The $15 million empire was gone. And now, the story is over, right? Of course it's not over. You don't build a $15 million empire on poison and just learn your lesson. In prison, Dr. Bakinski did what any good entrepreneur would do. He networked. He met a man named Richard Anders, a charming, professional, convicted securities fraudster. It was a match made in white-collar crime heaven. When Bakinski got out of prison, they teamed up and launched a brand new company, Helvetia Pharmaceuticals. Their mission? To sell a revolutionary new cancer treatment, a cutting-edge therapy that would save lives. The treatment, Bakinski claimed, was intracellular hyperthermia. Stop me if you've heard this one. And the revolutionary drug at the center of this cancer cure? You guessed it. 2,4-dinitrophenol, DNP. The exact same industrial poison. This man didn't just have a bad idea. He had a criminal business model, and he was sticking to it. He just rebranded the scam. Instead of selling it to patients, he sold it to investors. This time, he wasn't just committing medical fraud. He was committing securities fraud. This final scam, this part 2, was his last. The new scheme was sloppy. He was, after all, a convicted felon with no medical license. His partner was also a convicted felon. The investors, once they realized the cancer cure was a banned pesticide, were not happy. In 2008, Dr. Nicholas Bakinski was convicted again. This time, for 13 counts of securities fraud and conspiracy. He was sentenced to another 14 years in prison. Dr. Bakinski wasn't just a bad doctor. He was a serial fraudster, a man who found a poison in the 1930s and built his entire criminal career on it. He was a one-trick pony. But you have to admit, it was a hell of a trick. Thanks for watching Slopping Medicine. Stay safe, stay informed.